But first, we are in for a round of thick freezing fog this morning, and that could impact flights heading out of DIA. Right now, FlightAware shows that there are 23 delays and 6 cancellations at the airport, but that could change as the morning progresses. Right now, let's get a check of your forecast with senior meteorologist Chris Bianchi. Chris, we're also expecting snow over the weekend.
Yeah, we're going to get that snow tomorrow night and a Sunday morning. Right now, though, that fog, we don't get fog that often. I would say we get maybe 10 to 20 days a year where we're waking up to kind of thick fog like this across the Denver area, maybe more like 15 to 25. You get the general idea. It's not a common thing for us in the Denver area, but we do have that this morning. It's pretty thick for us. You might notice that brighter looks at things from downtown on north and east. That's what we're seeing right now. Quarter-mile visibility out at the airport, about a half-mile visibility in Boulder. Right now, 10-mile visibility in Denver, but that fog is kind of oscillating right between downtown and the north side of the metro area. So I wouldn't be surprised if in downtown Denver, within the next hour, we see that fog move back in north side of town. Greeley is seeing about quarter-mile visibility right now as well. That fog will break up probably between about 8 and 10 a.m. this morning, depending on exactly where you are. And it's an otherwise quiet day. Clouds will increase across western Colorado. Temperatures right now varying, of course, depending on your topography, but most of us in the teens and 20s. 51 for us today. Once we break out of that fog, should be a pretty nice quiet day overall. A bit breezy for us in the foothills. Mountains, snow tomorrow in Denver. We likely get snow tomorrow night. I'll have details on that for you in just a couple minutes. But Brianna, of course, that fog is pretty thick out there. Are we seeing A, some of that fog kind of impacting the roads, and B, are we seeing any accidents perhaps because of that freezing fog, which tends to lead to some of that patchy ice out there?
Yeah, Chris, we were just talking about it right before we went on air. This is a live look right now of I-70 and Havana Street. You can really see that thick fog in that area up and down I-70. And we actually just have our first crash right now of the morning. So I do want to switch things over to our main maps real quick. For those heading out the door, this crash actually just happened. It's right along I-70, right near that camera that I just showed you. So this is at the intersection of I-70 and I-225. You're going to see that on-ramp partially blocked. That crash, again, just happened. So crews are not even on scene yet. Keep that in mind if you're heading out the door. Westbound 76, E470. To Commerce City right now, you're looking at a 10-minute drive, not seeing any problems there. Again, just keep in mind that we are going to see fog that morning. That's going to be a problem for that morning commute. Southbound I-25, 144 to 76. You're looking at an 8-minute drive. We're still in the green.
Brianna, thank you. Authorities are still looking for a motive after identifying a decorated U.S. Army soldier from Colorado as the person who died in the Cybertruck explosion outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas Wednesday morning. Investigators say the man rented the Cybertruck from Denver.
9 News reporter Courtney Yoon joins us now live from the FBI Denver headquarters. Courtney, what have we learned about him so far?
Yeah, good morning, Erica and Jordan. Now, authorities are naming 37-year-old Matthew Livelsberger as the man they believe detonated an explosion outside the Trump Tower in Las Vegas on New Year's Day morning. Now, he was a highly decorated Green Beret and had served in Afghanistan. The explosion happened on New Year's Day morning. Nobody else was killed but Livelsberger. Police say the body found in the Cybertruck was burned beyond recognition. However, his military ID and passport were recovered from the Cybertruck. They also found gas canisters and guns they say he bought just before Christmas. Investigators say he rented the Cybertruck in Denver on December 28th. They were able to track his route from Colorado to Las Vegas using information from charging stations. On Wednesday night, federal agents searched Livelsberger's duplex in Northeast Colorado Springs. For now, his motive is still unknown.
Like I said, we're running down investigative leads around the world. No information that we're aware of right now that connects this individual to any terrorist organization around the world. But that's obviously the thrust of the investigation, is ruling out that there's any sort of, terrorism nexus, and then again, getting at what the ideology is.
Authorities say Livelsberger shot himself in the head just before the explosion. He was active duty military U.S. Army Special Operations soldier who was on approved leave at that time. Coming up at 6 o'clock, we spoke with one of his neighbors from Colorado Springs, and we'll hear from her. Live in Denver, Courtney Yoon, 9 News.
All right, Courtney, thank you.
Today, an Aurora man accused of killing 3 family members is set to be sentenced to life in prison. Christopher Martinez admitted to killing his brother, sister, and mother inside of his Aurora home in December of 2022. According to court records, he blacked out drinking before stabbing and shooting the family members. His father spoke with 9 News reporter Evan Krugel exclusively before the sentencing. He says he's torn between the grief of losing family members and the anger of knowing a family member was responsible.
You want to see the person who did you wrong be punished, but hate to see the punishment go to who it's going to. I'm always going to love him. That's my damn kid. But I can't condone the actions.
Martinez's sentencing is set to start at 9 this morning in Arapahoe County.
Bourbon Street in New Orleans is back open with a heavy police presence this morning after a driver plowed through a crowd, killing more than a dozen people on New Year's Day. The FBI says the driver in New Orleans acted alone, reversing Wednesday's statement that he likely worked with others in the attack. 15 people, including the driver, died and 30 others were hurt. There's a growing memorial on Bourbon Street for victims of the attack with a large cross and flowers. There's also a sign indicating that there will be a vigil at 7 p.m. tomorrow night.
The FBI now says there is no definitive link between the attack on Bourbon Street and the Cybertruck blast in Vegas. There were questions about whether they were connected after we learned the 2 men used the same rental car app, Turo. Turo has confirmed its platform was used to rent the Ford pickup used on Bourbon Street and the Cybertruck used in Vegas. Questions are rising about how both attackers weren't flagged during the security screening process when they rented those cars. In a statement, Turo said, in part, they don't believe either attacker had a criminal background that would have identified them as a security threat. Turo's website says the app screens users when they create an account and again when they book a car. After that, screenings can be triggered for several reasons and may prompt Turo to deny users access to renting a car. Turo says it cannot reveal information about its screening process other than it involves a renter uploading their driver's license.
New Orleans natives living here in town are trying to find ways to support their community. Henry Baptiste owns Nola Voodoo Tavern in North Denver. He says he spent much of New Year's Day checking in on his family and friends still living there in Louisiana. Now Baptiste is coordinating a fundraiser hoping to help the victims of the attack. He says it's the least he can do as he waits to hear if all of his family is okay.
It's a good chance if somebody from our family could have been down there, and not knowing everything I could, it's kind of very, very worrying.
Baptiste is still ironing out the details, but he hopes to host the fundraiser next weekend. He says all the proceeds will go toward the fund set up by New Orleans city leaders.
South Korean investigators have left the residence of impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol after a nearly 6-hour standoff. The Associated Press reports investigators tried to execute an arrest warrant against Yoon, but the Presidential Security Service blocked them from entering his home. Investigators say he refused to cooperate with the investigation into suspected abuse of power and orchestrating a rebellion. The charges relate to the short-lived but unprecedented martial law that Yoon imposed last month.
The FBI has released new video of someone who left pipe bombs near the RNC and DNC headquarters 4 years ago, hoping the new angles could lead to an arrest. The $500,000 reward for information leading to an arrest has not helped so far. The bombs were placed on January 5th of 2021, and Vice President Kamala Harris came within 20 feet of one of them. They weren't discovered until the next day, but that was the day that police attention shifted when a mob of people stormed the U.S. Capitol.
Net neutrality rules will no longer apply in the U.S. after a federal appeals court killed them yesterday. The ruling effectively ends a fight that spanned nearly 2 decades. Net neutrality is a term that bars internet providers from giving preferential bandwidth to certain providers. Without it, broadband internet providers can purposefully slow down content they may view as competition, like video streaming. On the other hand, they can also charge companies a fee in exchange for more bandwidth.
Big changes could be coming to Meta now that the social media company's top policy executive is stepping down. Nick Clegg served as the UK's Deputy Prime Minister before joining Meta in 2018. Back then, it was still known as Facebook. Clegg rose to his current role in 2022. His job has become very important in recent years as social media companies like Meta have faced more scrutiny. His replacement will be his second in command, Joel Kaplan. Kaplan once served as former President George W. Bush's Deputy Chief of Staff. Kaplan has deep Republican ties, including a friendship with Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh.